I'm going to tell you the truth. Like most of the time, I don't have to use any pressure. And in two times in my life, I really pressured people,
Hmm.
and I lost both of the clients.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I lost both of them in staffing. They were underpaying, and I told them, "You're paying $9. It's $14 in Columbus, Ohio, and you're not going to get anybody to show up in the fourth quarter where everybody's they need all the staffing that they can get at that period of time in here." And they said, you said that we're not going to be able to do this, but your competitor was in that same chair that we're sitting in right now, and he said they're not going to have any problem. And I
Mm,
said, well, how many people did they bring in today? He said they didn't bring anybody. I
mm.
said, that's because they can't get anybody at $9.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Closers Network podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sadikian, and today's guest is a best-selling author, a keynote speaker, and one of the most respected voices in B2B sales and leadership. He's written modern classics like The Only Sales Guide You'll Ever Need and Eat Their Lunch, and his work has helped thousands of sales teams make the shift from just being another vendor to becoming a trusted advisor. We're talking about someone who truly separates the average from the elite. And I'm excited to help bring onto the show and introduce Anthony Iannarino. Anthony, what's up?
Oh, it's good to be with you. We had a
Awesome.
little technical problem, but we got it done. So that's good.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. So I got started in sales about 10 years ago in franchise sales at an international franchise called Fit Body Bootcamp. And actually, one of the first 3 sales books I ever read was The Only Sales Guide You'll Ever Need. And it really helped me a lot with mindset and all sorts of different things. But I just wanted to kind of just let you know that off the bat that it was one of the first sales books I read and just it was phenomenal. So I appreciate you putting that together.
It's a terrible first name for a book when you then write 7 more. So yeah, it was not the only one that you needed. You need all of the other ones too.
That's so funny. So just a little bit of background, if I have my kind of facts straight, you started off selling staffing and recruiting services in the family business. Would you mind walking us through for our listener, what you learned from that and how did those early years and early deals shape the way that you approached high ticket offers later in your career?
I've had some big deals in the even recently. I will tell you, it was not that time. I was 15, and I got a job where I was going to get people to do a bike-a-thon. So it's MBA.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those kind of things?
Yep.
And
Yep.
I got 2 bike-a-thons, and I was making cold calls every day, and that's all I did. At 15, I was just making phone calls every day.
Wow.
And I got 2 deals, and then I got another job. The job was at a skating rink, and I was 15, and there were 15-year-old girls there every day, and I was like, I'm not going back there. They said, but you're the only person that got even 1 deal. You got 2 deals. Come back. And I'm like, no possible way. I had too much fun. And that was the start of that. And then by 17, my mom and her partner had a staffing thing. That's what they did. And I was going to be a recruiter. And it turned out that I didn't really like being a recruiter, but I did like selling. So at 17, I started doing enterprise level deals. I won the Limited. I won Victoria's Secret. I won DHL. I
Wow.
got the Ohio, the whole thing. I got that. I was doing, that was like, just Ohio was $9 million I did. And I did that
Wow.
for 3 years with them. And I just liked going out and talking to people. I like to understand their business. I liked the relationships. I liked all that, and I still do. I mean, I still think it's a great thing to do. And when people say, "Oh, I hate selling," it's like, no, you don't. You just don't understand it. It's
Mm.
a relationship. where you get to help other people with results that they couldn't get without you. And I just think it's a great thing for people to do.
I love that. On that note, I'm curious to hear your take on this. Do you feel like there's an aspect of selling where it's maybe just like nature, or do you feel like there's an element of nurture where anyone can develop the skill sets and become a great salesperson?
No, I do not believe that anybody can be a good salesperson. I've seen too many who just wipe out. They just don't have it. Some people have it and some people don't have it. And I don't think that's a nice thing to say, but I noticed that there are people who just aren't very good at it. They could be good at it, but they just don't have it. And I think most of us, it's about nature. We can do it because we like it and we enjoy it and we like people. And some people don't like that. Mm-hmm. They don't like the making the cold calls, which I had no problem with. I still don't. I was making cold calls as a kid, still do it. I've got a HubSpot right here. I've got a bunch of calls I still have to make. I still do that because I enjoy it. I like it. I like selling. It feels good, and I like to help people.
That's incredible. So on the note of cold calls, one of the things that we do is run a pretty massive remote sales agency, and we work with a lot of brands and influencers that have info products, any type of services that they sell. We help them scale. And I'll be very transparent. In the about 5 or 6 years we've been doing it now, a lot of our closers got maybe the word I'm looking for is a little bit spoiled with a lot of warm inbound leads, right? Warm inbound leads, where these are people that have expressed interest, came in through the funnel. And it's not just honestly until maybe the last year where we've really started to heavily put emphasis on outbound and working the leads that you have, because frankly, even those warm inbound leads, it was either they booked the call, we got on the phone, and that was it. There was really no follow-up. There was no hitting up, past calls taken. There was no just having a setter maybe reach out, requalify those leads, put them back on a calendar with the closer. So what advice would you give to maybe someone within our sales agency who's struggling and who's been dealing with this warm inbound lead situation, and now all of a sudden has to put in a little extra work, right, to make some things happen, right? Understanding like that's how things should have been set up from the start, and it wasn't, and that's our fault, but that's okay. But maybe what kind of piece of advice or mindset hack would you give to that individual?
I have a lot of things to say about this, so I'm going to try to be as nice as I can, okay?
Yes, please.
It's soft when you have these things coming in and somebody's actually want to have a conversation with you. That's easy, right? It's so easy. They want to have a conversation, great. So that's easy. Getting on the phone and calling people and getting hung up on and then having to call again. And I've had people say, I don't want to call them again because they didn't want to have a conversation. You're not going to be very successful in this. It took me 7 years to win PetSmart. 7 years.
7 years.
In 7 years, I was in staffing. I called them all the time. And there was a woman named Vicky there. And Vicky was never going to let me into the move. I wasn't allowed even to talk to her.
Oh, my goodness.
So this, 7 years, I keep calling. She's always not going to take my phone call. I called one day and I said, can I talk to Vicky? And they said, she's not here. And I thought, did she get sick or something? And they said, no, she's just not around right now. And I finally got Vicky and I called this and she was gone. And I said, she's gone? I called the senior leader. He took my call and I did $7 million with him for 2 years after that.
Whoa.
So people are like, I don't want to call again. I've been calling. No, keep calling. Keep calling. Mm-hmm. I've had so many people, especially when I was young, they would say something like, we appreciate you being so persistent about this. Mm-hmm. We are going to have a conversation with you. And I've done a whole bunch of deals just like that because you just can't give up. This is not the kind of a job where you can just give up. you have to keep playing the game over and over again. And it is a game. You know it's a game, right? Can I get a meeting? Can I get a face-to-face meeting? That's what you want. And I think people don't think this way, but I do. I think you should try to get, I'll tell you, recently in my family's business, I talked to all my reps and I said, from now on, we're walking right into the front door, just like that. Because that's what I did when I was a kid. I just walk in the front door, asked to talk to somebody, and my team all said, we'll start doing it today. They just like, we're just going to walk in to any client. And I said, if you go out and see somebody, one of your clients, then you go into everyone next to them, across the street, behind it. And that's why we're very good at what we do, but we've been doing it for a long time. I was 17 when I started, and right now I'm 19, or if you don't believe that, let's go with 58 as of October 5th. I've been doing this for a long time. I love it. I think it's a great thing to do. I enjoy it. I enjoy other people. I like learning. I mean, I go out and I see new industries. I get a new understanding of what they do and why they do it. And it just feels like a good thing to do.
I love that. Is there a time where you feel like maybe it doesn't make sense anymore to pursue this lead or this organization or this company? Is there a time where you have to pick and choose your battles?
If they are not right for us, I still do this right now, like what I do as a trainer. If you tell me I don't get to talk to your managers before I talk to your team, then I'm not going to do it. I'll just say I'm not going to do it. Because if you don't understand how to coach them after I do the training, then it's not going to work. And I would tell people I'm not going to do it. I can tell you, I know everybody. I can tell you, take Mike Weinberg, take Mark, take Jeb, somebody else who wants to do that. I don't want to do it. I want to make sure that when we do something, it has to be done right. And that means those sales managers have to understand how to coach them. And if they don't want to show up there, it's just not going to work. And I will tell you, the first time this happened to me, I was in a room with 2,000 people, and they said, we don't want you to do this. We don't want our managers there. And I said, this is the last time I'm going to do this. I'm not going to let them. They walked out in front of all of their team, and I thought, now they think this isn't important anymore. It's not important. Because they walked out, that means it's not important enough for us. And I thought, that I'll never let that happen again. It's just not the right thing to do. And I can live without a deal.
And what I hear you saying is that like there needs to be a synergy and alignment there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And when there's a lack of alignment and the manager's not on board, but on the people, the team on the people is there's no alignment, right? So
that's right. Yeah,
that's really powerful. And so on the note of when someone's having a tough week and you're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, maybe you haven't really gotten that win yet. What are some things you can recommend our listener today to stay optimistic, stay sharp, and just continue putting in the work, just understanding and knowing it's a matter of time, right? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when things will start coming through together.
That's why I like this book so much. I mean, this book is about the disciplines of doing this thing. And I think you just have to play the game. I'm looking at this. A positive mental attitude. If you are not optimistic, you're not going to be very good at sales. You're just not going to be very good at it. It's just a game. They say no. You come back and ask again. They say no. You ask again, and you just keep playing the game. It's not something to worry about. Nobody's ever hit you because you asked the second time. They don't care. They just move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I love that. By the way, I should have mentioned I was having a little technical error trying to figure out my soundboard for a second. So I have a soundboard here, and You said some very profound things. Usually I would drop a gong or drop the cash register machine or the money counter. So if you hear some of those sounds in the background, please don't let it stop you. Continue. I just got it fixed. So we're good to go now.
Okay.
But so one of the things that you mentioned is, the best salespeople don't close clients. They help them decide. What do you
That's
think
right.
the difference between pressure and persuasion is to you?
I'm going to tell you the truth. Like most of the time, I don't have to use any pressure. And in 2 times in my life, I really pressured people. And I lost both of the clients.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I lost both of them in staffing. They were underpaying, and I told them, you're paying $9. It's $14 in Columbus, Ohio, and you're not going to get anybody to show up in the fourth quarter where everybody's they need all the staffing that they can get at that period of time in here. And they said, you said that we're not going to be able to do this, but your competitor was in that same chair that we're sitting in right now, and he said they're not going to have any problem. And I said, well, how many people did they bring in today? He said they didn't bring anybody. I said, that's because they can't get anybody. I'm talking to the senior leader, who's not a very nice guy, was never a nice guy. And I told him, listen, I'm going to tell you something. You are going to die in Q4. And I'm telling you this. If you don't move it up to $14, you are not going to get anybody here. Everybody's already decided who they're going to be working with, and it's not going to happen. And he said, it's not going to. We're going to be fine. They lost all of their clients after I told them not to do that.
Wow.
I said, don't do this. You can't do it. You can't get it at 9. They lost. And the other one was a group that just came into Columbus, which was really interesting. And he said, we're going to pay $8. And I said, not in Columbus you are. He said, I do it in North Carolina. And I said, you're not in North Carolina. You're in Columbus. And I said, if you don't get to $14, you're going to, this is what I said, because I am sometimes pressure. I said, listen, if you don't take my advice here, I'm going to tell you, when you get to September, nobody's going to be able to help you. It's not going to happen. I said, the best thing I can tell you right now, you should get a really big shovel and go out and make the biggest hole you can and throw your business in it, because if you don't, you're dead. And they were gone. And I'm not afraid to do that. I'm like, you want to argue with me? I've been here for way longer than you have. And I did. I pushed people a little bit because I'm trying to get the guy to understand. I showed him all the labor data. I showed everything to him. Couldn't change his mind. And
That was it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't help people. And sometimes I'm a little bit happy being a little bit with some conflict. I think some conflict is okay.
Man, I'm glad you said that. I believe in a little bit of conflict on calls as well.
Yeah, a little bit of conflict.
Yeah. And especially it depends on the type of avatar you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes I think it's necessary, and people sometimes advise against it. But I've seen it work for me in my own calls in my own business. And I call it challenging people.
Yeah.
Yep. So for your team, or as you help people scale and manage their sales teams, are you a believer of, for example, when I started off in sales 10 years ago, all I was given was a 5-page script. I didn't really have a concept of what a framework is, like a call framework, understanding, hey, there's phases of the call. For us, a lot of the stuff we do is remote. So, it's on a 30, 45, 60-minute Zoom call, Google Meet type of a thing. And there's like the introductory phase, there's the discovery phase. And then if all makes sense, everything's great, we can move into the closing phase of the call. But when I started, it was just scripts, and I was memorizing scripts, reading scripts verbatim, and I made it work in some way, shape, or form. But at some point I realized, especially scaling sales teams, like, hey, the scripts are not necessarily always is going to cut it. And that's when I kind of got more grasp with the concept of having frameworks. But do you even believe any of that stuff is necessary for salespeople, or do you believe the conversation should just be a lot more natural? Like maybe you should have some key points and understandings of what your intention is in the call and the things that you're trying to accomplish. What are Anthony's thoughts on that?
I tend to start with an insight that I think is going to be something that they're going to say, well, we didn't know that. So there's a lot of people that do insights, but I do insights different. I look for non-obvious insights. So if the obvious ones, everybody knows those. So I have a way to find non-obvious ones. So I'm looking for the things that they don't really understand or know. I normally do like 25 different insights where I can find maybe one or two of those that I can work with, something like that. I'll tell you though, my tech stack when I was in 17 was index cards, a Sharpie, a phone, and an index finger. There was no CRM, there was nothing there. So I just had the index cards. I still do that. I've got
Look at that.
Still.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
I'm over technology. I'm just over it. It's not right. The only thing that we have to worry about is the conversation with the client. That's the only thing you have to be worried about. And I don't think that people understand this. So I do a lot of help with people, giving them the talk tracks that they need because they don't normally understand them. And so I do a lot of work with that. And I think that that's the only thing that we have. You've never won a deal without a conversation. And you've never lost a deal without a conversation. And that's how it works. And I think more people should think about the conversation. And what I see people do is have a conversation, but it doesn't create any value for the client. So what I do mostly at the beginning is I teach them a lot. So I do a lot of explaining, like, this is why you have this indecision. I have all these things that I have to talk to them through. And that's where all the things go, right there. That conversation with the person. Or right now, I can tell you, when I started in sales, I would walk in and there would be one person or two people in the room with me. That would be it. Then in 2000, I walked into a place called Marzetti. They make all kinds of food. There were 14 people there. And I was like, wow, I came by myself. I walked in by myself, 14 people there. And they said, we're the task force for staffing. Like, never heard of that in my life.
Yeah.
That is a client that I picked up, and we still have it. My family still has it.
Wow.
And we do $2 million with them every year. Over, I don't even know how many years now. A lot of years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. So, man, there's just so much there. I appreciate you sharing that. So one of the things I'd love to talk about, and I wrote down, is, you talk about the 10 commitments.
Yes.
Well, out of those, is there maybe one or maybe a couple that most reps skip that
Yes.
and we know that they shouldn't be
Yes.
skipping, that are hurting
Yes.
them in their close rates right now?
I'll tell you the ones that I think that they try to get away from.
Awesome.
The commitment to change. They don't want to ask. I ask people, are you and your team ready to make this sort of a change? I ask. I want to make sure that they know this is a change, right? That's what we're going to do.
That's right.
The easy ones are trading value, that first one. Like, that one's easy. Commitment for time. And then the ones that other people don't like to do is they love collaboration. They love that one. But then when it gets to building consensus, they don't like it. It's hard. And it's even harder now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that down. So one thing I'm also curious about, kind of similar to that note, when you have reps that are down and maybe they're in a funk, and that rep has had great months before, and sometimes I've seen just time and time again the classic scenario where they get comfortable and they make a lot of money in a month or two, and then they slow down, performance isn't there. But when even just general, when reps are down and in a funk, do you feel like it's more of a mindset issue? Do you feel like it's some of a skill set issue again, or in things they can develop?
It's a mindset. That's a mindset problem, right?
Yeah, that's a mindset issue.
You can't stop selling. I've had people tell me, we're not doing a great job for all of our clients. Fine. keep selling.
Keep selling.
Keep selling. You can't stop, because if you stop, then you have to try to start it up again. It's very hard for people to do that. I just make sure my team is always prospecting, always getting new clients, because you don't know. I had one group that I was doing in Chicago, and they were all very soft. They have like 2 giant clients, each one. And I said, what happens when you lose one? They're both doing $5 million. What happens when you lose that $5 million? Some of them quit because they lost the second part. They wanted to go do something else. It doesn't make any sense to do that. Just keep selling. What are you going to do? You can't stop. You have to keep. You don't know when you're going to lose your largest client. I had it happen to me 2 times in the same year.
Same year.
I lost a $9 million client, and then immediately after that, I lost another one for $9 million.
Oh my goodness.
So I was down. I had to get to $42 million. That was so hard. It was very, very difficult to get those numbers back.
And how you're saying you bounce back from that is activity. You just keep going back and keep pouring into the activity.
What else could you do?
That's right.
I mean, you could pray. I don't know if the gods of selling were going to give you what you needed, because they generally don't do all the work, right? You have to go do the work. It doesn't work that way. You can pray. I'll pray for you and with you if you want, but you still got to go do the activity.
That's right. You got to combine it with some activity. That's right.
Yeah.
Man, you've trained some of the best sales teams in the world. As far as sales leaders, what do you feel like, especially in, sales has, I feel like, changed even since in the 10 years that I've started it, the way people buy and the whole online stuff and scamminess. And it's kind of become just a transition in a conversation and how things are done. But what are you seeing? Like, what are some of the biggest mistakes, whether sales people or sales leaders and managers are making right now?
I'm working with a company here in Columbus. I've known them for a long time, and we were having a conversation, and I started asking them about some of the conversations that they had, and I was trying to explain them that they've got a couple different things that they need to do, and I started asking about, how do those conversations sound like? And they weren't very good at it at that time. So they weren't really where they should be. So that'll be probably 4 workshops for me to go back and try to get them to do what they really should do. Yeah. They've got a very good company. Everybody knows who they are, but they don't have the right conversations, and they know that. So that's
love that. A couple more things before we wrap it up. What do you think skills wise? What's the most important skill set that a salesperson could have?
Number 1 for me is always going to be discipline. If you're not disciplined, I won't keep you. I won't do it. Like, if you can't do the work, if you're not going to be disciplined about the work, I'll get somebody else that will.
And do you think there's an element of nature in that as well, having discipline?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I can tell you why I'm so disciplined.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
My dad left when I was 6 years old when he left. My mom was raising 4 kids in an apartment.
Whoa.
And all 5 of us there. Very, very small corridors right there. Mm-hmm. 1 bathroom. I had to go at night because everybody else had the morning. And I was poor. I didn't like being poor. It's not good. And I decided that at 13, I was going to go get a newspaper thing. I did that first. And then I got a job at a place. It's a big banquet place. And I was there for probably 3 years, around 3 years. And we would have maybe 2,000 people every night. And I had to wash all those dishes. And then I would walk home wet. It was maybe like 3 miles for me to walk there at night. Jeez. And I had a cop there who's not a nice guy at all. His name's TK Wright. And he would pull me over, like I'm just walking, and he pulls me over and he says, "You're out after curfew." And I said, "I just got off of work and I'm walking home." And he would say, "You better be at the apartment before I get there." So the first time he said that, I ran.
Whoa.
And then the next time I thought, he's not going to come back. So the second time he did that, I walked home. I'm like, what's he going to do? He's going to take me to jail. I'm 13 years old. Like, what's he going to do to me? Nothing. And my mom was pissed with him. Like, she was like, leave him alone. Kid's working, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So money, if you don't have any money, you're going to want some money.
That's right.
And that was very helpful for me to know how to go get some money. And
Yeah.
you got to do it.
Money will solve a lot of problems, but it won't solve all your problems, right?
Yeah, it'll save it will be very good if you need money. It's the right thing to do is get the money, right?
That's right. That's right. That's awesome. Is there anything, Anthony, we haven't talked about that maybe you want to leave with our listener today?
No, the only thing that I would say is that what I've been focused on for the last, let's say, 2 months is what I'm doing is called a win rate training. So I've got 10 strategies to help people get through the indecision. So that's what I'm working on right now. Seems to be working. It's helping other people do this. So I'm always working for the next thing. Whatever the next thing is, I'm going to be on top of it.
I love that. And if people want to find you and learn a little bit more about that, what's the best way they can get in touch? Because we have not just a lot of closers that listen to this podcast, but we also have business owners and entrepreneurs as well.
thesalesblog.com. That's the best place. Or LinkedIn's really good too.
LinkedIn or thesalesblog.com. There you have it. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you doing this. Again, it's crazy to think that I got started in sales 10 years ago, and you're literally one of the first books that I read. I found on Amazon. I was like, this is the exact book I need. And again, it helped me out a ton. So I appreciate everything that you have done and continue to do. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for bringing me on the podcast. I appreciate it. I think it was a good conversation, and I think you did a great job.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
Next?
Actually, so do you know who my first mentor that I started off in sales with is a gentleman. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name is Bedros Keuilian.
Don't know him.
So he's the founder and was the CEO of an international fitness franchise called Fit Body Bootcamp. And a crazy quick story I'll tell you before we part ways, but I was running a trucking company about 10 years ago. I was miserable. It was a 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. gig. I had to keep up with East Coast time here in the West Coast. They start at 8. I had to be in the office at 5. It wasn't for me, but I did it for 3 years, ultimately realizing I got to get out of this. And at that time, oddly enough, I saw a Ty Lopez video here in my garage, and it just kind of gave me a different perspective on things. And that's a whole different conversation, everything going on with Ty right now. But I found Bedros on.
I don't know what happened to him, but
yeah,
I've heard other people who don't think that he was really doing something as bad as people think he was.
Yeah, we'll find out. I think soon time will tell, and that's kind of what I'm hearing on my end as well. And I was just at his house just a few months ago before all this stuff happened, and it's just pretty wild to think about. But I found Bedros on Instagram, and he's got millions of followers now, and he's just a huge. People called him the Tony Robbins of the fitness industry. He was very fitness niche. And I hit Bedros up on Instagram. I was like, hey, man, I'm running this trucking company. I hate what I do, and I want to learn sales. And you're about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from me. I'd love to come, work with you and learn sales. So he sent me a message back. He's like, hey, dude, if you're serious, buy a ticket to this event that I do every year. It's called Fitness Business Summit. It's a 3-day event in San Diego. I'm like, fitness business? I don't know anything about fitness. I was fat at the time, had 60 pounds I lost, went on to lose another 70 pounds later. So I went down. Long story short, I met him, put a face to the name. And he's like, hey, there's no way I'm going to hire you unless you commit to me for 5 years in a contract and an agreement. I was like, all right, let's go. I was 25 at the time. And I was like, 5 years, I'll be 30. That's fantastic. But that's where I really got my start, was in the fitness business. All that to say is I finally invited Bedros to come out on the podcast because yourself and him, and had such a big hand and a big part in, you know, where I'm at today. So I'm just grateful. So I really appreciate
Looks like
it.
you're doing well to me.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying.
You still got more in front of you, though, right?
That's right. That's right. A lot more to go. A lot more to go in the tank. So
Me too.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate you coming on. Guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.